Ted Harvey joins us now. Ted, thanks very much for getting up with us this morning. I mean, the Republicans have to feel pretty good going into 2022. I mean, they need only 5 House seats, 1 Senate seat to flip those. And we were talking there in the intro about Youngkin. What do you think the Republicans can learn from Youngkin's victory in Virginia as they look forward and move forward into 2022?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me on. You know, it wasn't just the Virginia election. It was elections all across the state and I mean, all across the country. And the #1 issue was education and parental involvement in education. And the Democrats are stuck in a bind. They're controlled by the teachers union, and they're not going to let up their control of the public school system. And the American people are pushing back against the radical left that is controlling the schools. And that is what is crushing the Democrats. And that's why Youngkin won, and that's why Republicans won across the country in school board elections all across the country.
You would think the Democrats would have learned their lesson, made sure that they didn't make statements that really led to more Youngkins throughout the country. But Nikole Hannah-Jones, the founder of the 1619 Project, clearly did not get the memo. Take a listen, Ted.
I don't really understand this idea that parents should decide what's being taught. I'm not a professional educator. I don't have a degree in social studies or science. We send our children to school because we want them to be taught by people who have an expertise in the subject area.
I mean, putting aside the fact that she says she's not a professional educator, but she is a college professor, we'll put that aside for another day. Don't statements like that virtually assure that parents, regardless of whether they're Republican, Democrat, Independent, are going to vote Republican because they don't want that notion, that sentiment in their schools?
Well, that's the philosophy of the Democrat Party right now. That's the leadership of the Democrat Party, that parents have no say in the education of their kids. And if you look at the polls, Democrat pollsters that published a poll for the Democrat Governors Association said that 9% of the people who voted for Biden in 2020 switched their vote and voted for Youngkin as the Republican governor candidate. 52% of those were unaffiliated. The Democrats are bleeding unaffiliated all across the country, and it's because of this arrogance that they have that says that the school boards have the parents have no ability to have any say whatsoever in the education of their children, and parents aren't going to put up with that. That's why you're seeing them rise up and literally confronting their school board members all across the country.
Yeah. Ted, a Washington Post and ABC poll has said that if the election for U.S. House were held today, they asked who would you vote for. 51% now say GOP versus 41% Democrats. And when you have 23 Democrats who are retiring, that leaves a lot of seats which are open to be fought for. Which of those seats do you think we should be looking at closely? Which races are going to be key?
Well, I think there's an even more important poll that came out just today from John Zogby, a very credible pollster, that said that 45% independent voters wanted Republicans, 45% to 27% for Democrats. Like I said before, the Democrats are bleeding unaffiliated, and I don't think it really matters what seat there is. If it's a contested seat within 10% vote, I think the Republicans have a chance to win every one of those seats. I think this could be one of the greatest red waves that we've ever seen in American history, and it's because Joe Biden has historic low approval ratings, but also so do the Democrats in Congress, and that's going to be shown in the outcome of the elections in 1 year from now.
Ben, I'll let you take this.
Harvey, well, look, thank you, Ted, for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it. And we hope you'll come back and join us soon. We'll keep an eye on those 2022 races, certainly.